Of course, the goal every season is to win the division and get into the playoffs, perhaps host some games. But there's something to be said for how you enter January football, and the Ravens are entering it as the best team in the NFL. They have the best record, dominate performances over top-tier teams like the 49ers and Dolphins, and as the AFC's top seed that does not even need to play the regular season finale to gain anything against Pittsburgh on Saturday. This after the season started without All-Pro corner Marlon Humphrey, who was injured, the loss of running back J.K. Dobbins, then promising rookie Keaton Mitchell, tight end Mark Andrews still out. That happened before Thanksgiving, and a number of banged-up starters along the way. Still, they are 13-3, winners of 6 straight, and kings of the North, all thanks to a talented roster from top to bottom.
You just have to have that quality to sustain and have stamina through the whole season as a team. You know, team stamina requires guys to step in and play at the same high starter level. I mean, in our minds, everybody's a starter. You have to be, because you're one click away from being out there and you know, everything riding on your shoulders. So you got to prepare that way. I think our guys have always done a good job of that. I think if you go back in past years, many past years, you'll see the same thing, the same trait with this team. So, you know, just appreciate about that type of players that we have.
The Ravens will soon host a divisional round, either January 20th or 21st, and those tickets go on sale this Friday at 10 a.m. Information is on our website, foxbaltimore.com.
Morgan, thank you. Coming up on Fox 45 News at 6, we sit down with the leader of the state's FOP to hear the biggest concerns for law enforcement in the upcoming legislative session. 2024 has already seen its first homicide. How crime fears are moving into the new year.
With a new year comes a new homicide, sadly. We have exclusive video of the first fatal shooting of 2024. Juvenile crime is top of mind for state police ahead of the upcoming 2024 legislative session. We sit down with the Maryland FOP's leader to hear how they are planning to tackle it. And breaking news out of the Middle East, a senior Hamas leader killed in a drone strike in Lebanon, why some are worried it could mark an escalation in the conflict.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 6.
We have breaking news right now out of the Middle East. An apparent Israeli airstrike kills a senior Hamas leader who Israel had targeted for years. Saleh Aroui was Hamas's deputy political head and founder of the group's military wing. Officials say he was killed today in a drone strike in a southern suburb of Beirut. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu threatened to kill him even before the October 7th attacks, accusing him of masterminding attacks against Israel in the occupied West Bank. Israel has not yet claimed responsibility for the strike. If Israel was behind the strike, it would be the first attack on Beirut since the 34-day war between Israel and Hezbollah in the summer of 2006. Experts worry this could mark a major escalation in Lebanon after Hezbollah officials warned harsh retaliation for any targeted attacks on officials in Lebanon. This is a developing story, and we ask you to stay with Fox 45 News for the latest updates on air and online. Mary.
Kai, thank you. Well, we are just 2 days into the new year, and Baltimore has already had its first homicide. The fatal shooting is one of more than 36 crimes reported across the city so far in 2024. Fox 45's Alexa Ashwell has exclusive footage from this homicide.
Baltimore police have not yet said what they believe led up to this homicide. Neighbors, unfortunately, say they're not surprised by this violent start to the new year. Exclusive footage from a neighbor's back alley camera captures the handful of gunshots that police say led to the discovery of a man here on North Bentaloo Street in southwest Baltimore's Lexington neighborhood early this morning. Hours later, leftover crime tape marking the scene.
It's a damn shame, that's all I can say.
Many neighbors say they recall hearing the gunshots, but were unaware someone had in fact been killed. Baltimore police say officers responded to the neighborhood after receiving a shot spotter alert, and while canvassing the area, found a man who was unresponsive and had been shot. The department not yet saying what they believe led up to the shooting or if they have any leads on a suspect.
Just too many guns, too many murders.
This homicide marks Baltimore's first homicide of 2024 and is one of more than 36 crimes that have been reported across the city just days into the new year. There have been at least 3 non-fatal shootings, including most recently a 26-year-old who was shot on South Calverton Road just a few blocks from the homicide. Another case in the city's Central District. Police say a woman was shot multiple times, including in the face, by her boyfriend in this parking garage on East Baltimore Street. The 30-year-old suspect was taken into custody. The city also tallying at least 16 aggravated assaults and about the same number of larcenies, according to online city statistics.
That's unreal. That's unreal. How do people feel safe, especially people my age group?
The violence and fear spilling into 2024. Baltimore police have not yet released the age or name of this victim. Anyone with any information is asked to call Baltimore police. Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
Alexa, thank you. According to police data, Baltimore City finished out 2023 with 260 homicides and 636 non-fatal shootings. Both those numbers are down from 2022, and Baltimore saw less than 300 homicides for the first time in 9 years. The state's police union is laying out its legislative goals ahead of the 2024 session next week. Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost spoke with the leader of the state's FOP and has a look at some of the biggest pushes for law enforcement.
From recruiting officers to addressing the juvenile crime crisis, the Maryland FOP has a lengthy legislative wish list ahead of session beginning next week. With just days until the first bell of the session rings in Annapolis, the leader of the Maryland Fraternal Order of Police says changing the way law enforcement questions juveniles needs to be a focus for lawmakers.
It becomes a court battle, and there's no winners here if you are tied up in court battling over whether or not someone's rights were violated.
Clyde Boatwright joins the likes of several other police officers, state's attorneys, arguing the Juvenile Interrogation Act needs to be revisited. The law prevents police from questioning kids without the approval of an attorney, regardless of what the parent might say. Critics argue the law hinders investigations.
What is happening with that is it stops that juvenile from getting the services they need because you don't know what problem they actually have if you can't talk to them. But it also stops the victims from getting justice.
But supporters of it, like State Senator Joe Carter, argues police can still interview kids if necessary.
They're giving misinformation if they're saying they can't talk.
Do you think that there are gaps in education around the parameters of this law?
No, that's all theater, political theater.
Other items on the FOP's legislative priority list, taking investigatory powers from the Attorney General's office and giving it back to the state's attorney's offices for use of force cases. Boatwright says right now high-profile cases could be impacted during the investigation.
Could a person that's doing an investigation skew the investigation towards prosecution and miss valuable evidence? I'm not saying that that's a probability, but that is a possibility.
Couldn't the same be said for something being investigated by the state's attorney?
Well, no, because it's a separate entity. The state's attorney's vested interest is the interest of the citizens.
And with the concerns surrounding officer shortages, like in Baltimore City, where there are hundreds of officers short, Boatwright says there needs to be a scholarship program for officers to get a higher education. He calls it a GI Bill of sorts for police.
We listen to a lot of the naysayers that says that police officers are not educated because you only need a high school diploma to become a police officer. We're now saying we want our police officers to be the best educated and have the best product.
In line with raising the bar for officers, the FOP is calling for a stop in lowering hiring standards. Why do that when there's such a struggle to get police officers to apply in the first place?
Because, you know, you can start to see the wrong people infiltrate our ranks. And, you know,
is that happening?
No, well, I think that, you know, it has happened in the past. People find a way to get into every profession. And some people will, if we lower the standards, they'll have people that have bad intentions will find a way to get in.
Ultimately, the success of these legislative priorities will come down to finding enough support in the State House. With a Democratic supermajority in both chambers, it's unclear if the support is there for everything on the wish list. Boatwright says the FOP is still working to line up specific sponsors for each bill in this legislative package, and the session begins January 10th. We're in the newsroom. Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
Well, it may only be the second day of the new year, but guess what? We could be in for the first snow of 2024. Jasmine, what's it looking like for our few days coming up?
Yeah, it's exciting to say we could see some snow across not just the state, but the region, and that's going to come this weekend. Right now, it's pretty mild. We're seeing temperatures in the 30s and in the 40s. We're one of the higher spots here in Baltimore, but over the next few days, we are looking at a falling trend in the temperatures. Tomorrow, we'll be in the upper 40s and above average. We go to the mid 40s on Thursday and then the low 40s on Friday as we get ready for that next weather maker. The temperatures continue to fall. Now we're looking at the chance for a rain and snow mix across parts of the state. Some areas will see snow, others will see rain, and that's primarily going to be for areas east of I-95 to areas west. We're mainly talking snow, but all of this does clear out by Sunday morning. I'll have a closer look at the timing and where we could see snow and where we could see rain in my Weather Authority forecast. Back to you.
With the 2024 elections now in full swing, what group of voters seems to be changing their minds and could determine who wins the White House? I'm Scott Thuman in Washington with a closer look coming up.
New details in a deadly crash outside a concert on New Year's Day. What police are now saying about the suspect's possible motive.
Fox 45 News, winner of 16 2022 Regional Emmy Awards, more than all other Baltimore news stations combined.
Well, we are learning more about a deadly crash outside a concert in Rochester, New York, early on New Year's Day. Police say a 35-year-old Michael Avery accelerated toward pedestrians in a rental vehicle filled with multiple canisters of gasoline. A rideshare vehicle was hit, killing 2 passengers. 9 pedestrians were hurt, 1 with life-altering injuries. Police officers on the scene rushed to render aid.
So even in the midst of this despicable tragedy, there is a reminder that there still is goodness in this world, of the individuals that sprang into action without thinking about their own safety to try to save others.
Avery is from the Syracuse area. He died last night from his injuries. No suicide note was found in searches of his home or hotel. The FBI has found no evidence of terrorism or a larger plot, nor a motivation for the attack. The suspect's family is cooperating with law enforcement, telling investigators that he might have had an undiagnosed mental health issue. The investigation ongoing. Well, 5 crew members of a Japanese Coast Guard aircraft are dead after a runway collision. The aircraft reportedly collided with a passenger plane on the runway of a Tokyo airport. The passenger plane was an Airbus A350 with 379 people on board. Somehow, all of them got out safely before the plane fully caught fire. Japan's Coast Guard says the pilot escaped, but 5 other crew members died in that accident. Harvard University's embattled president is resigning, according to campus newspaper, the Harvard Crimson. Claudine Gay's tenure is the shortest of any president in Harvard's history. Gay resigns amid plagiarism allegations and following a disastrous hearing on Capitol Hill about anti-Semitism on campus. She served in the post just over 6 months. Well, former President Donald Trump is appealing a ruling that would keep him off Maine's 2024 primary ballot over his role in the January 6th riot at the U.S. Capitol. The decision from Maine Secretary of State cited a section of the 14th Amendment, which says officials who have, quote, engaged in insurrection are disqualified from holding office. Trump's appeal will now go to Maine Superior Court. He is also expected to appeal a similar ruling by the Colorado Supreme Court. Well, the first votes in the presidential election really right around the corner, with the Iowa caucuses just now 2 weeks away, and a national shift in support among several groups of voters causing some serious concern at the White House tonight. Sinclair's chief political correspondent Scott Thuman shows us why.
For President Biden, the new year presents a new problem, at least compared to the last election. Hispanic voters, a critical part of Democrats' base, are picking a different path, according to recent polls. Biden dominated in that demographic, 65 to 32% last election, but now trails Trump by 5 percentage points.
We're proud to see that these great numbers are led by surging support from Hispanic Americans, African Americans, and young people. How about that?
Biden will have to hope that many of the Hispanic voters, possibly 20%, who currently support a third-party candidate, will in the end switch back to him.
We created 13.5 million jobs, and about 4 million of those jobs are Latinos.
That, however, as immigration issues continue to plague the White House and cities inundated with new residents.
We desperately need decompression in Chicago. We've got 30,000 migrants. We simply can't handle anymore. We're not equipped for it. I'm a Democrat, but I'll say the Biden administration has absolutely dropped the ball. I'm not going to let them off the hook.
But Democrats insist in a two-man race, despite dropping support in young and black voters, too. Biden's still primed to edge Trump.
He almost certainly would. Biden beat him by more than 7 million votes last time, and we just have millions of young new voters who've joined the rolls, and they can't stand Donald Trump.
Though the president's low approval rating could also threaten Democrats' control of the Senate, and swing state candidates like Sherrod Brown in Ohio, Bob Casey in Pennsylvania, and Nevada's Jackie Rosen may now be strategically distancing themselves a bit from Biden. That a constant pitfall for any unpopular presidential incumbent, and something Trump suffered from too during his 2020 re-election bid. Now that challenge appears to be Biden's. In Washington, I'm Scott Thuman.
Right now, you're taking a look over Baltimore, where it's nice and quiet On the HD radar, not too much to see, but we have a weather maker coming this weekend, and that's going to change the pattern around the region, bringing the chance for rain and for other snow. Now, we're going to stay nice and dry over the next couple days, so if you want to do any preparations ahead of that weather maker, you have a few days to do that. 39 for the current temperature with clear skies over Baltimore and light winds. Around the state, temperatures are mainly in the 30s and the 40s. And as we take a look around the region, it is nice and quiet, really not much happening. We have high pressure that's going to work to keep us dry over the next few days. But after that high pressure system departs, the next weather maker moves in on Saturday. Tonight, though, we stay dry as our temperatures continue to fall to the 20s and 30s for a freezing start to the day tomorrow. By the afternoon, highs reach 49, which is above average. This is followed by a falling trend, 46 on Thursday, and then 42 on Friday in preparation for that next weather maker. Notice those low temperatures also staying below freezing. Meanwhile, it feels like it's in the 30s and 40s, so certainly a cold pattern beginning to take place. As we take a look on the future scan, we'll have clouds to start the day tomorrow, then into the afternoon, staying nice and dry. A cold front will sweep across the state, leading into Thursday morning. We're not expecting any precipitation with this system, but there could be some snow flurries to the west. After that, we're in for a dry afternoon on Thursday. Friday starts with plenty of sunshine thanks to high pressure, but as the high pressure system departs, more clouds move in as we get ready for the winter weather maker. We'll wake up to a few spotty snow showers starting on Saturday morning, but by the afternoon, we're looking at rain and snow across the state. We're generally talking rain for areas to the south of I-95 and to the north. That's when we have the best chance for snow. Now, things will gradually start to taper as we head into early Sunday morning. By daybreak, it's looking much drier. We'll stay dry on Monday, and then on Tuesday, another weather maker brings in rain to the state. 31 for the low temperature tonight with a few clouds. Then tomorrow, a nice and dry day as our temperatures stay above average, reaching 49. But again, we have that cooler pattern as we head into the weekend. Coming up, I'll have a closer look at what you can expect in the exclusive 10-day forecast.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
That's not fog and that's not smoke. It's cedar pollen invading Texas Hill Country. Allergy sufferers know all too well this is cedar fever season. Ash juniper trees release their pollen during the winter in the southern U.S. Symptoms of a cold can follow, including a runny nose, itchy, watery eyes, and a sore throat. Levels typically peak in January and improve come springtime.
Listen to Off the Radar. New episodes every Tuesday.
Snow enthusiasts in the Pacific Northwest in for a warmer winter than usual. How it's affecting snowboarders in Seattle. Well, it is a disappointing and concerning sight. The snowpack in the Cascade and Olympic Mountains is way down for this time of year. It's so thin, it has skiers, snowboarders, and even drivers who cross the mountain passes asking, where's the snow? Maybe it's here in the Northeast. In tonight's Assignment America, Michelle Esteban from our Sinclair sister station in Seattle tells us why colder temperatures can't come soon enough.
It takes a lot of work to keep this place open with so little snow.
And a big part of that work is hauling a whole lot of snow every night to the bottom and top of the chairlifts. It's so thin in places Eric West came to snowboard but didn't.
My board's in the car, and I looked at the hill and I said, oh no, it's a brand new board and I don't want the bottom all ruined.
His son Joshua told me he's navigating twigs and bare spots to stay safe, but when it comes to the risk reward, it's all about the reward.
My friend's here, and I think it's going to be super fun.
We're a little bit light on snow in the Cascades. Here at the summit, we're sitting about half of what we would normally be.
So far this season, Snoqualmie Pass has received 79 inches of snow in total. By the end of December last year, there were 189 inches of snow. Right now, snow on the ground down to 28 inches.
Basically, we have thin snow coverage. That means there's not a lot of snow depth out there. There's more hazards, and there's marked